through this?
Well, right around the corner, the World Cup is coming. And with it comes crowds, chaos, traffic, cyber risk, and multi-agency coordination. Plus about 1,000 opportunities for somebody to discover that their interoperability plan was really just a folder with confidence issues. The question is not whether the event is big. The question is whether public safety is actually ready when the world shows up on their front door. And that's coming up next on TiPS, Today in Public Safety.
Welcome to TiPS, Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories in public safety news. Here's your host, Fletch, with today's tips.
Welcome to TiPS, Today in Public Safety. This is Fletch. I'm a NENA-certified ENP, and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I bring you the latest, most informative, and sometimes controversial takes on emergency communications. Today we're taking a big deep dive into a big event readiness problem, because the upcoming 2026 FIFA World Cup may become one of the biggest real-world tests of our public safety interoperability that we've seen in modern times. Now, to be fair, right out of the gate, this isn't the first big event since 9/11. We've had conventions and Super Bowls, inaugurations, parades, protests, disasters, and no shortage of moments where agencies had to coordinate under pressure. But the World Cup is different, both in scale and spread. The tournament is bigger than previous editions, spanning 3 host countries, and in the US alone, it hits a long list of major metro regions. And that matters because if you are still trying to stitch together your public safety communications with duct tape, good intentions, and a conference room slide deck that says regional coordination, the World Cup may be the moment reality walks in and wants to see your homework. Here's the part that people don't want to say out loud. Interoperability is just one of those words that everybody loves to say until they have to prove it. Sure, everybody says they support it, everybody has the meeting, everybody's got the governance chart, the mutual aid plan, the radio cache, the CAD interface roadmap, the contact sheet, as well as the backup contact sheet, and probably another contact sheet, but nobody's updated it since somebody retired during the Obama administration. But the thing is, a big event doesn't care about your planning binder. A big event wants to know whether police, fire, EMS, emergency management, transit, hospitals, private security, public works, utilities, telecom, fusion centers, and our federal partners can actually exchange information in a way that's timely, accurate, secure, and usable. Not theoretically, not eventually, not after somebody finds the right talk group, but right now. And that's why this World Cup matters. It's not just a sporting event, it's a widely distributed operational stress test. So let's remember what we actually mean by interoperability, because too many people reduce it to radios. Yeah, radios matter, absolutely. But interoperability is much bigger than just voice. CISA and SAFECOM have been saying for years that interoperability depends on governance, standard operating procedures, technology, training, and exercises, and actual usage. And that last one is the killer, usage. Meaning that if agencies don't regularly work together before the event, they shouldn't kid themselves that they're going to magically become synchronized just because a global tournament showed up and bought a ticket. So ask the real questions. Can the neighboring jurisdictions share incident data cleanly? Can the ECC talk to transit police, stadium security, and emergency management without 3 relays and a sacrificial offering to the communications gods? Can GIS, dispatch, field units, intelligence, and video feeds all align into one operational picture? And can our cyber and physical security teams coordinate like adults? And is command staff able to make decisions from shared information instead of dueling dashboards that actually disagree with the content? Because if our answer to any of this is sort of, that's not readiness. That's optimism wearing a reflective vest. The World Cup also puts pressure on something that public safety still struggles with every day. And that's cross-discipline coordination. You're not just managing what happens inside the venue. You're dealing with what happens outside the venue, around the venue, on the roads to the venue, and in the bars and hotels near the venue, at fan festivals, in the parking areas, and nearby transit hubs, as well as online, where misinformation travels faster than a responder can clear traffic. FEMA's current World Cup grant language says the program is meant to help local law enforcement, emergency responders, and public safety officials prepare for, protect against, and respond to World Cup-related security risks. That language alone tells you that this is being treated as a serious readiness issue, not just a fun summer scheduling challenge. And DHS budget documents are also flagging the World Cup as part of the coming special event security demand curve. And that means federal partners are paying attention. And the question is whether every local and regional partner is moving with the same velocity and urgency. Reality check. Here's the reality check for all this. Post 9/11, we made real progress. We built frameworks, we improved governance, we created technical guidance, we invested in broadband, shared channels, field guides, exercises, and national planning. That part is all real, but progress is not the same thing as a finish. Too many agencies still confuse ownership with integration. Too many systems can technically connect but operationally do not. Too many organizations still plan in silos and exercise in comfort zones. And too many decision makers assume a giant event will somehow make everyone cooperate better. When in reality, giant events tend to expose every weak seam that you forgot to fix. Now, the World Cup may not create these weaknesses, but it may simply introduce them to a much larger audience. And that's the uncomfortable part. The bottom line. The bottom line on this one is simple. Big event readiness is not about whether a city can host a game. It's about whether your public safety ecosystem is able to absorb complexity without collapsing into confusion. The World Cup may be one of the biggest North American interoperability stress tests in modern public safety. And that's because it combines scale, visibility, mobility, cyber exposure, cross-jurisdiction coordination, plus private sector dependency and public expectation all in one package. So this is the moment to ask the hard questions. Not next spring, not 2 weeks before kickoff, and not after the first major failure. You need to do it now. And if your interoperability plan depends on luck, heroics, or Bob knows who to call, that's not a strategy. That's a prayer with office supplies. That wraps up today's episode of TiPS, Today in Public Safety. Thanks so much for listening. For more updates and insights, remember to follow me on social media at Fletch911. And you can visit 911tips.com, where you'll find a complete archive of all my previous episodes. My blogs are available online at Fletch.tv, and you'll find my professional website at Fletch911.com. Stay safe, thanks so much for listening, and if you're in public safety, thanks for what you do every single day. We'll catch you next time. Take care.
You've been listening to TiPS, Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories and public safety news. Hosted by Fletch and available every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Catch past episodes on 911tips.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and remember to join us each week for the latest on NG 911. I am Spider Harrison, the official 911 voiceover dude. Catch me on Sirius XM on various channels, including 90s on 9, the 10 spot, and on the Weekend Countdown on Hits 1. Or don't regret it for the rest of your life. Either way, I'm good.